Hello there everyone, Commonwealth from here with Roger Space, no less.
The thing is, 3D Mario and Mario Kart could certainly coexist in the same, release year, because we even saw that with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and with Super Mario Odyssey. So I think, they might try to capture lightning in a bottle, with the only difference sort of being with Zelda. Obviously we just had Tears of the Kingdom this year, so I don't imagine we're going to get a really big mainline Zelda game next year, but I definitely think the sort of game that could fill that niche for the hardcore is Metroid Prime 4. It's going to be like a Breath of the Wild type situation where it comes out on both. And I feel like they're probably going to do what they did for Switch 1 as well, where for the original Switch, in that January, they had that big blowout preview thing, where then they had preview days around a bunch of different cities in the United States where people would play ARMS and Breath of the Wild and stuff like that. I feel like we're probably going to get something similar with Switch 2 as well.
Yeah, that's the big question I also have. Do you think we're gonna get a Tears of the Kingdom Deluxe? Because they said we're not making any DLC, but let's be honest, a Deluxe version is not DLC. It's a full new release with new content.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's gonna be a Deluxe type deal. I think it's gonna be something, even upon when they announce whatever the system is, I do think it's gonna be something like your Switch games can play better than ever now on the Super Switch or the Switch Advance or whatever they're going to call this thing. I think that's going to be what we're seeing. I think you're probably going to get a lot of side-by-side trailers of this is what Breath of the Wild looks like on the Switch. This is what it looks like running on the Switch 2. This is Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch. This is what it looks like on Switch 2. And I honestly think that's going to be part of whatever the initial teaser video, and that it'll be your same Switch library. Because I don't know about you, Conrad, I do not believe there's any chance whatsoever this thing is not backwards compatible. I know there are people saying there's conflicting reports. There's no doubt in my mind this thing is going to play Switch games.
I want to get back to Mario Kart, because it is the big 10 we're talking about here, X. And we all know what X is in Japanese.
Crossover. The crossover.
Yeah, it's been teased, hinted at in DLC already on the Wii U. Then with the Splatoon characters in Deluxe, it has to be like a Nintendo kart, but with the Mario Kart X name.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the smartest way to differentiate it from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which again, if the Switch 2 is backwards compatible, and I do think it will be, there's going to be a lot of people still playing that, right? I mean, I already can see Pikmin courses. I'm sure Miyamoto would be going crazy, frothing at the mouth over Pikmin courses, or even some type of Metroid course, right? Where you have Metroid related stuff, Samus and her little gunship. I think there's just a lot of really cool things they could do.
Yeah, I totally think that is an option, a possibility here, especially with Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom not being represented at all. And you could have a stage that goes in the sky, surface, and the depths.
Totally. Oh my God. It's the live action Zelda movies in development. So and plus the Donkey Kong world is coming to Nintendo World in about a year as well. So everything seems to be lining up where I do think they're going to have something that really references every single one of their big franchises. And Mario Kart seems like the smartest way to do it, because we know for a fact there's no way Smash is going to be launched here.
And I think that summarizes it very well. Then we have Mario, and I think actually they might wait a little while with the next 3D Mario game, either to 2025 or even to 2026, which is of course the anniversary of Super Mario 64. But I begin to think that 2025 is that year, because I think we're gonna get a new Zelda, top-down Zelda, to coincide with the live-action Zelda movie.
I also agree with you. I think there's going to be something. I disagree that it's going to be top-down, though. And the reason why is this. I think we are going to get a remake of a classic Zelda game done in the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom engine. That's what I think we're going to get. Because if you look at what they're going to do for the Zelda live-action movie, and question which of these games they're going to adapt, in terms of the classic stories, right? It's got to be something that has Ganondorf, Zelda, and Link, right? You have to have those three as the core. They already did a remake of it on the 3DS, but I think a fully HD Breath of the Wild engine version of Ocarina of Time would break the internet if for an anniversary. I mean,
I'm gonna be honest and say it straight out. This would be Nintendo's Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy.
Totally. Absolutely.
And I say trilogy for a reason, because you start with Ocarina of Time, then do Majora's Mask, and then give us the third missing Hero of Time game to conclude this.
Fantastic. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I would love that.
And I think that covers Zelda for the most part.
Yeah, because I don't think we're expecting too much until around the time of the movie beyond like re-releases or maybe like I could see maybe a top-down, like Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess. I could also see them maybe doing like a remake of the Oracle games in the Awakening engine.
Yeah, but I think Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD have been held back for a reason, because if this thing is dual screen, we all know that there was dual screen functionality on the Wii U with Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD. So now it's going to be Wind Waker 4K, Twilight Princess 4K.
And going back real quick, because we kind of skimmed over it when you were talking about the 3D Mario thing, I also agree that I think they're going to hold off slightly. But I actually don't think it's going to be 2025. I do think they're going to want to get it out. Like the Wonder team has been busy doing this for a couple years at this point, but that's a 2D Mario team. I think the 3D Mario team's been hard at work since Bowser's Fury. And I think, 3D Mario is, again, such a great way to showcase what a system is capable of. You see it early in the Wii and the GameCube and the N64's life cycle, and I think it's going to be the same type of situation, right? All three of those systems had their 3D Mario in the first 12 months. And so I don't think this Switch 2 is going to be a new exception. But again, I am saying that with the caveat that I do think the system is coming out next summer. I really don't think, and I know a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I really don't think the Switch 2 is going to release in the holiday. I think they're going to do a soft launch, release during summer vacation type deal with a couple launch games, maybe some third-party releases, some big-name third-party ports, and then have a blowout holiday season with a new 3D Mario game.
Personally, I think the system would come out in September, October, but summer seems like a possibility as well. And if I am right, I think Mario could come out in like the Breath of the Wild window, March, and then have just Mario Kart for the holiday, and then have 3D Mario as the big first game of 2025. Do you think it is Super Mario Odyssey 2, or do you think it's something brand new?
I think it's something brand new. And I think they're going to be building not off of Odyssey. I think they're building off of Bowser's Fury, where Bowser's Fury, at least to me, felt like a tech demo, where you get these really cool kind of open world environments where you can run around all over the place and do these little quests to get the little cat, what were they, like cat stars or something, cat bells, whatever. Like, it was a lot of fun in Bowser's Fury, but I imagined as I was playing that game, like, oh, this is their testing ground for whatever the next full game is going to be.
Yeah, they teased that pretty much as well in the Super Mario Bros. Movie this year, like with the different kingdoms, like the Kongs, the mushroom, Koopa, and the penguins. I think that is a very nice formula. Like you have open world, like it's an expansion of the formula we had in Super Mario Odyssey and Bowser's Fury combined, and probably taking the best gameplay elements of both.
Definitely.
All right, I think that covers 3D Mario. I'm not going to speculate more about that because they always surprise us. Who would have guessed Cappy with Super Mario Odyssey? I'm not even going to try that.
He turns into a car this time. That's what it is.
All right, let's move over to a new two other bestsellers. In fact, two ones right below Mario Kart, namely Animal Crossing and Super Smash Bros. And which one are we getting first, do you think? Because it looks like those are 2027... 2028.
I think we'll get Smash before Animal Crossing. I think we're going to get Smash. The reason why is because I don't think Smash is going to be a totally new game. I think Smash is going to be this generation's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It would have to be a complete reboot. And I don't think, based on what Sakurai said, he's willing to do that just yet. Which would then require them cutting a bunch of characters. But again, I don't see that happening anytime soon. I really think we're going to get a deluxe edition.
Yeah, because how else are you going to explain that these characters are gone than to just say, hey, this is the last chance you have to play many of these characters, because we're going to go in a different direction now. If you want to play as Sora again, if you want to play as there are just so many, this is your
Sephiroth,
chance.
yeah, Min,
yeah,
any
exactly.
of them. Yeah.
This is your chance. And I think maybe even 2025, 2026 is possible with this.
I agree. I think it could come sooner rather than later. But I do think within that first 2 years, you're going to get the Smash Brothers equivalent, whatever it is, Deluxe Edition, whatever, on Switch 2. Which would be massive. I mean, that's like, you have a Breath of the Wild engine remake of Ocarina of Time and the 10th generation of Pokemon. Especially the year after a Smash Brothers and a 3D Mario would be insane.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that covers pretty much 2024.
There's one franchise I want to bring up. There's one big one. And this is one that was mostly missing on the Switch. And I have a very specific reason as to why I think we're going to see this franchise. There is, without a doubt in my mind, currently a new Donkey Kong game in development. Without a doubt. I know there were rumors about like a year and a half ago that there was one being made by the team that, like the Odyssey team or whatever. And that could very well be true. But I think there is a 0% chance that they have Donkey Kong World launch in terms of the theme parks and have all this other stuff related to Donkey Kong and not have a Donkey Kong game.
I 100% agree with you there. Like, it's obvious that Mario and Donkey Kong might have something more to do with each other forward. We see that with the remake of first Mario versus Donkey Kong. We see that in the movie, and now with the Odyssey stuff as well, with New Donk City. I think that they want to bring Mario and Donkey Kong back together, and maybe across the two games.
Maybe we're kind of both right, and that's the 3D Mario, right? Maybe the 3D Mario is, instead of Super Mario Odyssey, it's Mario and Donkey Kong's Odyssey, right? And you're in these open world giant 3D environments, and people have been begging for a new 3D Donkey Kong game since 64, and I feel like that'd be a great opportunity to and that would go along with the rumors that that team was developing a Donkey Kong game, right? If it ends up being a crossover, and you literally see in the Mario movie Donkey Kong using the Fire Flower and all this other stuff that he's never done in games before, that would be a really great introduction.
Also, the way they integrated Bowser Jr. and Bowser's Fury.
For sure.
With the
two-player.
First proper multiplayer in a 3D Mario game.
Yeah, one person plays as Mario, one person plays as Donkey Kong. If you're playing single player, you play as either one or the other, or you could switch off. You could even do it like country style, where you have Diddy and Dixie, or Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, and you press the button and you swap between them. I mean, that would be amazing. And they each have their own abilities, and Donkey Kong swinging through vines and switches to Mario, who's using a power-up and jumping all over the place. I mean, that could be incredible.
Yeah, I think there's something to it, actually. And the same goes for Splatoon, because I think we're forgetting about Splatoon. It's the fourth installment. This is probably an upscaled 4K system. Splatoon 4K.
There you go. That's a perfect name for it. People are obviously looking forward to the expansion pack DLC, the side order.
Yeah, I think we're talking like 2026. That is 4 years of the Splatoon 3. Or 2027. That's like 5 years.
I could see early 2026, late 2025 for Splatoon 4 for sure.
Yeah. And then I think Animal Crossing is kind of like, they need something in 2027, especially after you've just burnt off Zelda, you've burnt off Pokemon, you've burnt off kind of 3D Mario. I think they need one game that can stand the entire year, much like in 2020. 2027 seems like a very good bet for the next Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing is it's a weird one though, because, Happy Home Designer or Happy Home Paradise or whatever for New Horizons came out like 2 years ago at this point. And they've obviously been working on something. But I think since New Horizons, Animal Crossing, and even really since New Leaf, I think New Leaf is like really what propelled it into super popular Nintendo franchise territory. But New Horizons really exploded the Animal Crossing in terms of popularity.
We know we got one new big IP this generation. And when you have arms, maybe you can also have legs.
There you go. Look, I have been a proponent for a sequel to ARMS for a very long time. I adored the original ARMS game. I don't know very many other people who play it regularly other than me, Nintendon, and my friend Eddie over at Golan. I think we're like the only 3 people on the planet that still play ARMS. But I love the world of that game. The reason why I'm hesitant to say that I think we're going to get a sequel anytime soon is because the ARMS team is the Mario Kart team. And I think the Mario Kart team is working on Mario Kart 10 right now. And so I do think if we get any type of follow-up to ARMS with maybe like a more substantial single player, I feel like that would be maybe a year or two past whatever Mario Kart is.
Yeah, it's a little bit cursed, the franchise, because it's tied to the most profitable Nintendo team and who has been bogged down in work because of the Booster Course Pass and the next Mario Kart and even Mario Kart Tour. Yeah, it's a little bit, I would say ARMS is a little bit cursed because of that. Unless it gets a new team, it might struggle. Have a feeling that we might be waiting a little bit for the next couple of games from certain franchises. And I think, of course, of things we associate with Nintendo, like Fire Emblem is probably going to take a 2 to 3 year breaks. All right, I think that is a good transition to like the more third-party side of things. And we can't start with that while not remaining at the first-party side of things. Monolith Soft. What are they going to do after completing the trilogy of Xenoblade?
I kind of want to hear your opinion first, because I have an idea, but I don't know if most people would agree. But go ahead.
The time for new IP is a new console. I think that they've been playing around with that idea, with concepts, working with the Zelda team, and now I think they've reached a point where they are ready to kind of deliver their game that could be on the level of, I don't know, Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, when it comes to scope, scale, and finally deliver their own open world game and one single map experience.
I think Xenoblade is still going to be a thing. I don't think Xenoblade Chronicles, like the story of the characters that we've had up to this point, will continue. I think Chronicles, that aspect of it is getting cut off. But in Japan, Xenoblade has always just been called Xenoblade. It's never been Xenoblade Chronicles. I think they're going to continue on with Xenoblade, but with a new subtitle. Not necessarily Chronicles, but something else. And develop it so that when it gets released in Japan, it just gets released with the same subtitle. Instead of just being Xenoblade number, it's Xenoblade subtitle, and that starts off a new franchise or something.
It perfectly takes us over to third-party support, because the Switch has been a good example of how Nintendo can handle third-party support. But I think that they really want one thing with this console, and that is to just become, every time a new game is announced, it's also coming to the Switch too.
I think we're getting Elden Ring, and here's why. We have not seen or heard from the DLC about Elden Ring for a long time now. I believe, unless they shadow drop it in the next couple months, I think it's coming out like summer of next year is when I think we're going to get the Elden Ring DLC. And if my prediction is to be believed, and we get sort of a soft launch for the Switch 2 in summer, that seems like the perfect time to release Elden Ring for the Switch 2, have a Zelda-type, high fantasy-type experience that's on the system at launch that showcases the power of the system and has some type of potential crossover, potentially with the Legend of Zelda franchise. I mean, imagine if you're playing Elden Ring and then you get like a Master Sword weapon, or you get like Link's tunic or something, just like Skyrim. Exactly. That Elden Ring is essentially the Skyrim for Switch 2. That it's the big game from the previous generation that everybody played, was highly acclaimed, but now you can play on the go with these special Nintendo little goodies baked in.
Yeah, I think that game and Baldur's Gate 3 are probably the biggest candidates at launch. And I wouldn't be surprised if both actually came to the system.
Completely agree. I also think, I believe those rumors about Final Fantasy VII Remake coming to the Switch 2. I think I could definitely see that happen, especially now with like what a close relationship they had for Smash Brothers with Cloud and Sephiroth. I think that seems like a no-brainer that they would release that pretty early on.
Yeah, and we also know the exclusive window for Rebirth. Yeah, with Rebirth, that window of exclusivity is like 3 months. It's until May.
Exactly. And that game comes out in February. And when does that exclusivity end? Summer. Again, a lot of stuff is pointing to summer in a weird way that hasn't really happened with other Nintendo systems since the Game Boy Advance, which is why I keep coming back to that summer date. And I keep thinking that we're going to see Nintendo sort of take over next summer and do this soft launch while still having games like Fire Emblem and Paper Mario and things like that coming out in the latter half of the year, still for the original Switch, but of course playable on the Switch too.
To me, it's one thing, Roger, and that is, before we end now, I have to bring up two games, that Witcher 4 and GTA 6.
The one game that really is standing out to me in terms of something that's already out and people are talking about and playing this year and that has a really strong relationship with Nintendo is Street Fighter. I think Street Fighter 6, whatever the next iteration is, like Super Street Fighter 6 or whatever the next season of the game is, I think Street Fighter 6 within the first year of the Switch 2 is probably going to end up being a thing. There are two other really big franchises bringing it back to Japan again that I think we have to talk about. One, while we're on the topic of Capcom, is Monster Hunter. And I think the next Monster Hunter is also assuredly going to be a Switch 2 game, even if it's also a PS5 game. We have not seen anything regarding Dragon Quest XII since that game first got announced. My guess is that game is also going to be a Switch 2 game.
Of course, you're going to get your Mario Party, you're going to get your Ring Fit Adventure, and a new Paper Mario game. And
Pikmin as well. We got to throw Pikmin in there though, because they specifically, Pikmin 4 became a huge success this year. Best-selling Pikmin game of all time.
Exactly. All right, that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Roger, where can we find you?
You can find me everywhere on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram at Rogers Base. I got that brand unity across all platforms.
And yes, this was Conrad of the Commonwealth Round.